All right, what's going on, everybody? This is your professor, Dr. Jace K. Austin, and this is week number 12. That is right, week number 12, meaning we are almost done of your 70, no, not your 70, of your 9410 class, which is actually the seminar code. So this class is actually your cultural heritage seminar. Again, as always, I am Dr. Jace Austin. You need some course updates, or maybe you want them, but maybe not necessarily need them. Either way, I've got them, so let's get into them. The first thing that needs to be said, and virus, grace periods, we're doing that. So if you get this done soon, you will not be penalized. But, all right, so the mini interview, which really shouldn't take you all very long, was due on yesterday. If you're watching this on Monday, actually, you're probably not watching this on Monday, so never mind. This was due yesterday, as you can see, or due on Sunday, April the 12th. As you can see, April the 12th is there. I have 6 of you who have not turned it in. I don't know why that is. This is not a difficult assignment. In fact, pretty much all you have to do, really, and you can do this without having to actually go to anyone. If you can just copy and paste those 5 questions, email them to somebody who works in cultural heritage, have them email you back the answers, and then you post the answers in your question and answer in this discussion board forum. Do this, and this is to help folks. I had this in place really to help you all. That's why I want you all to do it. People a lot of times just don't know how to get into heritage work. So that was the point of this assignment. And I said that, I think, in the intro video to this class, or the intro sync session, that this was a vocational guidance thing. This was a way for us to find out if you wanted to get into one of these careers, how would you do it? So, and I did discuss this because I discussed the entire class in that first sync session. So you all have been aware of this since January, and most of them have been done. So I don't know why I've got 6 people who haven't done it, but you need to do it. Now, if you cannot find anyone, then what you can do is email me and I will put you in contact with somebody. Because I know the virus is causing that complication, and I understand that. I get that. And like I said, I know that, I get that. So I'm happy to put you in contact. I've got 3 people who are willing to talk to students. I went and got 3 people today who would be willing to do the Q&A with you. But again, first of all, you need to contact me and let me know that you need that type of assistance. And then you actually are going to have to get in contact with the person that I put you in contact with. I know that as a professor, I am supposed to be here to help and assist, but this is also grad school, and so most of the work is really on you all. And the idea, let me just say that this virus hasn't shut down everything. There's still cultural heritage workers who are checking emails. You can still get in touch with local governments to try to be put in contact with somebody if you don't want one of the 3 people that I've got. So, I'm not looking for excuses here. I want you all to do that assignment. I put it in place for a reason, and I want it done. Okay. What else do we have for you all? I think that that's really it as far as needing to tell you all about assignments, but let me make sure. Okay. Because the argument paper for the Confederacy, that is going to be your last assignment. That'll be like your, I guess, final exam. Sync sessions are now done. I have perfect attendance for the April 7th synced session, so I am happy about that. Thank you all for coming. You are done with those, and please let me know in the student evaluations whether you liked those or didn't. I'm not scrapping the synced sessions. I think that a class like this needs those, but I may need to, do some thinking on who I actually tap in order to lead these sync sessions. I do personally think that Dr. Benjamin and Mike did fantastic jobs in February and March specifically, and then we had a pinch hitter last week in April. Actually, we had two pinch hitters, and I think that they did an incredible job, especially given that they didn't have hardly any preparation time. So I hope you liked those speakers, but if you didn't, let me know why, and I will reassess who I bring in for future iterations of this course. Okay, so those are the main things. The grades on the, also, yes, I do need to say that the grades on the visits to the Cultural Heritage site were pretty good for the most part. And then the 4 heritages, I have not started grading those yet, but hopefully as soon as I finish grading some papers in my reference class, I can come back and get the 4 heritages papers graded in enough time before you all finalize your Confederacy papers. So, because I want you all to have that feedback before you turn your Confederacy papers in. So I am working on that. Steady at work, hard at work, always, which is why, well, it's what keeps this program going. We all work very, very hard. So that's pretty much it there. And then I guess from there we'll have some discussion, because there really isn't too much else to say. I will say that you all, as usual, are still doing great jobs with the discussion prompts. Some of you have gotten a little lazy on the discussion prompts in the last week or two, but given the circumstances, I kind of understand. And I am not calling anyone out specifically. If you don't think that applies to you, fine. If you do, then it might, and so adjust. But aside from that, yeah, we're hanging in here, guys, and we're going to make it, and it's going to be all good. So let's keep it rolling. Week 12. So actually, let me go to... All right, yeah, let's dive into week 12 and let's talk about some things just related to Confederacy commemoration and that sort of thing, which is not, it's a very touchy subject, but it's the best way to introduce some of the concepts that I wanted to introduce in this class. So that's why you're getting it this way. So for one thing, when it comes to the naming issue, and you'll see that on the prompt for this week as well. So the Confederacy is a good place to start when you're trying to look at why are things named after certain people. And when we have that Paseo unit, that's a Kansas City-based module coming up. In fact, it might even be next week. But when we have that, you're going to see that the naming, the commemoration of Martin Luther King Jr., that's one of the pieces to that issue. And so we are starting with naming and commemoration actually this week, because that's a huge Confederacy thing. I haven't been in Missouri long enough and haven't seen enough of Missouri to say anything about whether or not Missouri falls into this category. But I can tell you, when it comes to Southern states, and I'm a born and bred Southerner, and lived in the South from birth until age 35. And what I can tell you is that when you go to the South, it is not just the Confederate flags that you see everywhere are not the only issue. Naming is a big issue. Naming is a huge issue. And there's schools. I went to high school in Richmond, Virginia, which was a former Confederate capital. I did not attend high school in North Carolina. So while I was in Richmond, which was, again, the former Confederate capital, you know, it was a lot of disturbing, in my opinion, well, for me. Now, and again, I've admitted my anti-Confederate bias. If you have pro-Confederate commemoration stances, that is fine. discuss them, you will not be penalized. That's what makes this work. And in fact, I think you all might remember my buddy Bill. Yeah, Bill, he's a pro-Confederate commemoration person. He thinks that if you remove and that came out in that interview. I don't know if you all caught that, but he mentioned that in that interview. So, like I said, I've got friends and even people who I patronize their stores, who believe in the Confederate commemoration. Now, there are no Confederate flags in Bill's store, or weren't. He had to close the store down, but you get my drift. You see what I mean. But in Richmond, like one of the major highways is Jefferson Davis Highway, named after former Confederate President Jefferson Davis. There are several elementary schools, including predominantly black elementary schools, named in that area and throughout the state of Virginia and throughout the South, named after people like Stonewall Jackson and Robert E. Lee. There was a high school that my high school in Richmond used to play every now and then, but they were on the other side of the Metro Richmond area. We were toward the south, they were toward the north. But that high school was called Lee Davis High School, and it was named after Robert E. Lee and Jefferson Davis. We are educating American children in schools named after America's domestic enemies. That's my position on it. And I think that's no good. But I also mentioned in this in the discussion prompt for this week that, hey, this comes on libraries as well. And I'm going to tell y'all something. It comes even with the library I work with, and that's a struggle that I have to deal with every day. Miller Nichols Library on the campus of UMKC. That's where my office is, and most of my work is CISL, but there is a small percentage of my work that goes into UMKC as a practitioner for Miller Nichols Library. Miller Nichols is one of the key figures responsible for redlining in Kansas City. Miller Nichols was one of the people who tried to make sure that blacks didn't own a lot of land or a lot of property, or that there weren't a lot of black homeowners during his time, at least, here in Kansas City. And the segregated nature of Kansas City is not due, because I don't want to get in trouble, it's not due fully to Miller Nichols, but he definitely had a hand in it. So now, until this virus became a thing, I woke up every day. Well, not every day, but I woke up Tuesday through Friday, and I would go into Miller Nichols Library. I was a black man going into a library that celebrates the legacy of someone who didn't think that I should own property, or didn't think that I should be able to live wherever I wanted to in this city as long as I could afford it. So, and there's some gravity with that, because I'm telling you all that, and you all are my students, but let me just tell you straight up, if I told a lot of the people in my circle that I actually work at a library named after one of Kansas City's premier segregationists, I would be called an Uncle Tom and a sellout and all of that mess. And frankly, I wouldn't have because the people in my circle, they just don't roll like that. The people in my close circle. But that's where I am. And unfortunately, that is the best and, it's the best opportunity for me. And I'm grateful for the opportunity. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad to be here working for Mizzou, and glad to be here. I'm glad to be here working for Mizzou and glad to have this opportunity. But let me just say, there's no honor in knowing that I work in an institution that commemorates and celebrates the legacy of somebody who probably thought that I was less than human. That's just pretty much what it is at this point. So, those are some of the things that we just kind of have to juggle around. But in a society like this, it's hard not to be a slave to the almighty dollar. And I know people who, in principle, would leave this job just because they can't do the Miller Nichols thing. But I got bills to pay and I've got a career to build. So this is just what it is. And these are some thoughts that some people who are not necessarily part of the majority population just kind of have to think about. So I want you all to be aware of that. Let's see what else we can do here. Another thing that I wanted to show you all really quickly. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So you all were supposed to, whether you did or not, I'm hoping you did, but you all were supposed to watch that interview between me and Bill. And that was for the local business / small town business module. Bill closed Knitsnats and sold off his remaining inventory for as much as he could. That wasn't much. But Bill has put this up, and he said he just may have made the right decision. He put this up on Facebook, and it's a Rolling Stone article, and it's talking about how coronavirus could be the death knell for indie retailers. I hope not, but indie retailers, again, if they've built a bond with others in their community, then that is part of cultural heritage, if they have woven themselves into the culture of the places that they serve. So, yeah, this virus is having some effects on cultural heritage, y'all. It really is. And music is cultural heritage too. And a lot of the people who run indie shops are the people who are best equipped to sell you music. So there are some cultural heritage repercussions there as well. So these are the things that Dr. Chase thinks about, and these are the things that just kind of sadden me. You know what I'm saying? But this is just where we are. It's where we are, okay? Hopefully we will be in a better place soon. That's what we need to keep hoping for. And if you're of faith, praying for, I'm not a person who's necessarily of faith, but I still hold sacred texts even as part of this cultural heritage umbrella as well. And religions definitely are a cultural heritage component. And I don't knock anyone who is a person of faith or who is a praying person. Who knows? Maybe that is what it's going to take to make things better around here sooner rather than later. I don't know. I guess it doesn't hurt, especially if you are on lockdown and you have some more meditation time now than you used to. Who knows? But yeah, that's my take on it. Another thing that I wanted to say really quickly with going back to the Confederacy piece, and this is something I want you all to just kind of think about, because as you were reading the readings last week and as you read the readings this week, I will say, and this is going to be probably very controversial, but I'm not one to shy away from controversy as long as I know that I'm going to be supported by the people who need to support me. Here's one thing, and I talk about Confederate commemoration all the time, and here's one thing that I've had happen many, many times, and this is really a reflection of white supremacy, and I don't even think the people who do this know it. So again, I have these discussions about Confederate commemoration all the time, okay? In person, when I'm in the South, in social media, blah, blah, blah. I've talked about it. I've been talking about it since I was a preteen, even, with people. And one thing that I've heard several times that is so racist, and yet people don't even realize that. I'm not saying that the people who say this are racist. I'm just saying they are displaying an attitude of black people being less than, and they don't even realize it. So here's something that has happened no fewer than 20 times in my life. I'm discussing Confederacy, Confederate commemoration, blah, 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 with people in my opposition to it. And, I'm always ending up finding somebody who's a descendant of some Confederate soldier or some slave owner or something of that nature. And they want to engage me. One thing that I've heard many, many, many times is I've had people who are descendants of Confederate soldiers or slave owners or whatever, and who think that Confederate commemoration is a worthy cause, they'll turn to me and they'll say, why do you care, and you're playing victim? You don't know anyone who was a slave. Now think about that. Think about what is being said to me in that situation. I don't know anyone who was a slave. So the history of my people then is irrelevant if I didn't know them. Okay? Because they're black? Is that why? Because let me tell you something. You are fighting for the commemoration of people that you didn't know. Just like you say that because my ancestors were slaves and I didn't know them, and because I didn't know anyone who was a slave, why do I care? That argument is stupid because it's so easily flipped back on these people. They didn't know these Confederate soldiers that they're trying to commemorate. They didn't know these people. They didn't. Because the Civil War was in the 1860s. So, why is it that your ancestors who betrayed our nation, deserve respect, deserve commemoration, should not have their legacies disrespected? But when it comes to me and my black ancestors, then it's, oh, but you didn't know anyone who was a slave. That's white supremacy, folks. I'm sorry. It's not intentional white supremacy, but it is a manifestation of the white people that I'm descended from. They deserve some commemoration, even if it disrespects the memory and the commemoration of your enslaved ancestors. So that's where I am with that. Now, and this will be the last thing I do before I shut it down, because you've heard the rants, but this is the other thing that I wanted to do real quick, was just kind of, just show you a few pictures. So I was living in Columbia, South Carolina when the Dillon Roof Massacre happened, and when we had our drama, our subsequent drama, trying to get the Confederate battle flag removed from the top of the South Carolina State House. And I went to both the rally to have it removed, and I was briefly at a Ku Klux Klan neo-Nazi rally that they had a few weeks later at the State House, where the angry white supremacists came and decided that they wanted to insult everyone in South Carolina because they were upset that the flag might get removed. So, but I left that early due to the desires of some family, even though I would have been fine. They were not violent, and I don't think they were going to get violent because they were outnumbered. But having said that, I did just want to show you all a few pictures, maybe, from that time. All right. So these are some pictures that I took at the time. For one thing, I am just interested in people knowing that not everybody in South Carolina is some, racist hick or whatever. It's difficult when you are outside of the South to really think that people in the South have any sense. So, because we don't look like it from the outside. I understand that, and I'll admit that. But this crowd was very diverse in racial makeup, as far as the people who came out to protest the flag actually being up there after Dillon Roof committed the massacre. So, not okay with me. How can heritage replace human empathy? People just speaking at the rally. Museums. That's where Confederate stuff needs to go. It should not be on the public square. It should be contextualized in a museum. A few other things here. Let's see. That's me. Looking a lot younger. I think Missouri has put a lot of age on me, not because it's a bad place, but just because I'm not used to it. So I have a lot of sleepless nights due to the weather or whatever else. That is nobody's fault. I am just kind of a fish out of water here, but I'm going to adjust. So yeah, in only 5 years' time, I look like I've aged about 25 years, but whatever. Let's see, it's time to take it down. What would Jesus do? It's a good question, I think. Yes, it is racist, they say. How many deaths? All of this. Please take the flag down. Take it down. Take it down. Unarmed. Okay. We'll say that for another time. Museum material, again. South Carolina compromised. Black lives compromised. Unite. This is enough. Take down the flag. To take down the flag, and there were a lot of people honking. And this is so these doves are supposed to represent the people who were killed at that church, and that's the top of the church there. And then this is my favorite. Governor Haley, tear down this wall. Folks, I don't know what it's going to take to get this country to stop fighting the same battles year in, year out, generation in, generation out. I don't think that we're capable of doing it, and that's the unfortunate thing. That's one of the reasons, one of many reasons, though, I don't bring children into this world. I despise what I see out of this world, and I don't think I should contribute children to it. So that just is what it is. But I really am a firm believer that cultural heritage is a way to build bridges and a way to help us all understand each other. And maybe if we value cultural heritage and the gravity of it as much as we needed to, then we could get away from all of this hatred, because then all of our stories would be told, and our stories might have some different seasoning and some different spices, but our stories, the stories of our people, regardless of who your people are compared to my people, but the stories of our people, if you look for them, you'll find those similarities, and that's when you find out that all people are just people, just trying to make it, just trying to see this world be the best that it can be. But we get distracted by all of these dividers. And there's so many people who look at cultural heritage as a divider. They're coming in on it bad right away. And I can't be that guy. I'm hoping not to be that guy. I'm hoping to be one of the guys who winds up building some bridges. So that's where I am with it. Anyway, that's it. I'm Dr. Jace. I'm staying in place. Don't talk to anyone too close to their face.